Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen. As always, on Twitter, you can find me at Juicy Steen, Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, The Juice Box you can listen to on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, juicysteen.podbean.com, and now on Spotify, where you can listen to podcasts. That's where you can find The Juice Box. Wow. I'm recording this late Thursday night because, there was a very important event happening tonight, the WrestleMania 40 press conference that took place at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The same place where the Super Bowl is being played in a couple of days. We'll tackle a little bit of the Super Bowl later on in the show, where I will refer to some of the best pro wrestling and pro football interactions over the years. I have a couple of little notes there, because it is always interesting to see the connection between pro football and pro wrestling, with the Super Bowl being this weekend and WrestleMania being the Super Bowl of pro wrestling. I think it's fitting, and a lot to get to since the last time I spoke Friday on SmackDown last week. This episode aired. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were ready to roll with moving forward with the Royal Rumble winner being Cody, CM Punk being hurt. Rollins was already hurt. What's going to happen? Lo and behold, The Rock shows up on Friday, and chaos ensued ever since. So we will discuss all those things in great detail here going forward. I really don't know where else to start unless we do with that. But we'll also tackle what happened this past week on AEW television as we move closer to Revolution and Sting's final match. A lot of pieces falling into place on that front, as it were to seem. And just interesting tidbits from the show in general, a future announcement of a show, which pretty much solidifies a new addition to the roster. So as we just want to start with the main event of WrestleMania and what that would be. So Friday, Roman's out there with Cody face to face, and Cody's thinking about what he's going to do. And he says, I've talked to some higher ups, some higher council, if you will, and it was none other than The Rock who shows up. But what he does is walk in the ring, look at Cody, shake Cody's hand, and kind of look, gave him some information, secretively at least, it seemed. Something he whispered potentially to Cody. And then he went about staring at Roman Reigns, and that was exactly how SmackDown ended last Friday night. And within hours of that, we started to see hashtag We Want Cody all throughout social media. I mean, Logan Paul had a We Want Cody tweet that had over 22 million interactions. I know Conrad Thompson was not happy. A lot of just people in general, a lot of fans, I don't even want to say high profile fans, but just, guys in the space, guys on the roster. Matt Cardona, who's not on the roster, he said we want Cody. A lot of guys are saying we want Cody because after we go over, what has been, happening in the last couple of weeks. So Cody wins the Royal Rumble. It's then, he chooses he tells Roman, I want to end you. I want to, take everything from you, but not at WrestleMania, which is the bizarre portion of last Friday night. And for that to happen, and now over the weekend, this uproar, this uprising of fans, fans alike, other wrestlers, what have you, all just absolutely shredding the decision. Some people saying maybe, just maybe, this was a pivot. Maybe this was, what if The Rock decides to, I'm on the board now. That was announced with the Netflix thing. Hey, but I'm gonna come in. I want to kind of push this my way. I want to come in. I want to have these matches. It's, The Rock kind of being like a Vince in that realm. Now, it didn't come off like that on TV last week, but, the weekend happens. Everybody, like I said, up in arms. It's just, then it seems we're going to get Seth Cody again when Seth has lost to Cody 3 times, one of which being Cody having his pec practically torn off of his body. So it just wouldn't, maybe be as logical for fans to buy into a match like that after we've seen it so many times with the finish, how we saw it as well. But, that happens. We also finally get an announcement that the WrestleMania 40 press conference will be taking place in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, The Rock, Cody Rhodes would be there. And once that kind of came through, we go, this might be it. This might be what we're doing here. Maybe they're going to make this official. It made Thursday very important. In addition to some of the outrage, I would like to also throw this out there. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, one of the more prominent analysts out there in the game, posted a poll. Which do you prefer at WrestleMania? The Rock versus Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes versus Roman? 107,749 votes. 82% Cody Rhodes versus Roman is the match those fans would like to see. I know that it's, not necessarily, the majority, the main majority of fans aren't on Twitter, aren't on X. I understand. And this is where we'll get into a little bit of, I'd like to touch on this interaction I had over the weekend with fellow Chairshot reality host Brian Ghoulish. He has not been in the juice box, at least yet. I would hope that maybe one day he can come on in the juice box, throw a straw in so we can banter, get a little fired up as they used to do, him and Eisenberg, back in the Chairshot reality days. But I know Ghoulish is a huge fan of The Rock. All across the board. He's huge in the movies, huge in social media, the tequila, maybe going for a presidential run. A lot of potential things with The Rock that I know, Brian is a big fan of The Rock. And he, for sure, is kind of under the impression that the best move and that the first move, not a pivot, not, the fans didn't do this. Like The Rock brings the audience. The Rock brings the eyebrows, the eyeballs to the show. WrestleMania needs the biggest match, and that's Roman and The Rock. And, his debate, he's got this many followers. He's going to bring all these eyeballs. And look, I've advocated, give us Rock and Roman. This is the bloodline. These are two guys. This storyline's made for The Rock. Head of the table, all that. for a couple of years now in this Roman reign, no pun intended, this is what we should see. This is the match we've wanted. And now it kind of looks, from an outside perspective, to how I'm thinking and how I refer to things. Oh, well, now we get the match, but it's to take away Cody's story, so I'm emotionally upset that Cody doesn't get to finish his story. First of all, I'm really not that emotionally invested into Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is, a great guy. Big fan of Dusty Rhodes, big fan of Dustin Rhodes, and Cody has done a lot for himself. He, was a wrestler, grew up in WWE, went to AEW and kind of created that whole thing, along with a couple other guys. Comes back to WWE after he reinvented himself, and absolutely has done so much for WWE since coming back. That doesn't mean that I'm so connected to Cody that I think he should de facto be the number one contender, or he should win the title. Cody should have won last year at 39, in my humble opinion. It didn't happen. Okay, build up adversity, correct the mistake in the following year. You can build in between then, and it shouldn't be that hard. So to me, okay, here we go. Cody beat Brock a couple times. He overcame Nakamura. He wrestled Dom Mysterio. He won the Royal Rumble again. He pointed to Roman Reigns. To hand it over to The Rock? So to me, again, it has nothing to do... I'm not emotionally invested in Cody, as you might think. I have an issue with, The Rock brings a ton of exposure. That's great. But why couldn't he have done this and given the exposure to WWE last year? Why does he now have to, interfere, in a sense, in regards to an organic storyline that has had Cody Rhodes, the most over babyface in the company, trying to get the satisfying conclusion to his story that they talk about all the damn time. Finish the story. I have a problem when The Rock, if the plan was in January, like after The Rock comes back, January 1, if the plan then was to do what they did, after the Rumble, The Rock should have won the Royal Rumble. I think that would have been fine. It would have been logical if that's what you wanted to do. What I think happened, I think Triple H, and everybody, look, Cody Rhodes is the guy. We're going to do this again. Let's give him the Rumble. Let's kind of redo these records. Let's get him another one. Let's do this thing. And The Rock comes in on the board, sees how it's going, figures whatever, maybe I can influence some stuff, insert myself, help out, whatever. I'm not looking at this really as selfishly of The Rock as I feel like a lot of fans do. They don't, hate The Rock. I don't hate The Rock. I think the motives could be questioned and at the surface. I don't think deep down. I think deep down The Rock wants WWE to succeed, and of course he'd love to be a part of it. I think my issue is sometimes there's talent out there that wants to get so involved with that type of, stuff that they get blinded by the success of the company because of their help. And I just don't want, I would hate for that to be the case whenever all I really want is The Rock to help out and be a part of this, and it makes sense, and it be something worth both Rock and Cody and Seth and Punk's injured, of course, but Roman, all those things work out. Everybody gets what they need. Everybody is satisfied. All the fans get what they want, and it all work. And for Cody to just hand over that Royal Rumble match, you know what, Roman, I don't want you at WrestleMania. To hand it over to The Rock just seems foolish. It makes Cody look ridiculous. Now, again, as of the presser, Cody, as of this recording, Cody Rhodes is slated in the official main event of WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. The graphic has been created, even though at the press conference there was also a graphic created for The Rock versus Roman Reigns. So who knows what the hell they're doing? But The Rock seemingly had a graphic made there, so I don't see why he maybe not. He probably does have a match at WrestleMania. But to me, Cody right now, he's gonna have it. At this moment, he has it. He's gonna have the match with Roman night 2. Assuming it's night 2. But to me, I think that this was gonna happen. Rock decides after. Let me insert myself. They get to the Rumble. Cody wins the Rumble. Rock interjects and like last Friday on SmackDown. But now this press conference happens. After all the the outrage or whatnot, Cody interrupts Roman after he tells The Rock, "I want The Rock in a match. This is the match I want." Cody was Mr. Hesitation. He waited. Therefore, I want to get my match against The Rock. That's who I want. And Cody says, this is BS. And honestly, just really solidified why he should be there. Even after The Rock puts all the bloodline stuff out there and has a huge family lineage and shows all the names, even Jacob Fatu and some other wrestlers not even in WWE getting referenced in the bloodline here. And Cody kind of tears it down and says, "Hey, I want my match with Roman. That's who I'm deciding." The place went nuts. And The Rock slaps Cody in the face. Slaps Cody in the face. And now we have even more to try to deal with and dance with here in regards to the Mania situation. First of all, Seth Rollins is in the middle of everything, but he's really nowhere. He could have had a match with Cody. He's not going to interact with him probably at all now. He's not getting anything with The Rock. His title has been destroyed verbally by everybody, including the other champion. Cody is now not wrestling for that title. And now it seems like maybe Drew will get involved, even though I ultimately think Damian Priest will cash in on Seth. Seth needs time to heal after a potential surgery, of course. And maybe that's how we go. But with Cody, Rock, and Roman, here's what I think. There's a lot out there involved with, what night to do this, what night to do that. I have been a proponent of Roman Reigns wrestling both nights, where he wrestles The Rock on night 1 and Cody on night 2, beats Rock on night 1, loses to Cody on night 2. But it definitely seems this Brian Gewirtz Rock-led team, this is chapter 1. I gotta honestly think that Mania 41 is gonna have Rock versus Roman non-title, based off of what happens at Mania 40. I think Cody Rhodes is gonna win the world title from Roman Reigns, and when that happens, I think potentially it's because The Rock cost Roman or what have you, and it sets up Rock and Roman the following year. Additionally, though, I think Cody could actually wrestle both nights. I'm not going to say I created this idea, but pondering a lot of the ideas thrown around on social media and on other programs, I think I tend to agree with potentially Cody wrestling The Rock on night 1, getting the victory. Maybe Cody does it, but everybody, like, Roman's disappointed in The Rock, and how would High Chief feel about this and disrespect The Rock? And then The Rock definitely could assist in the negating Solo Sikoa role, what have you, getting Cody the victory, and then launching us towards Roman Rock maybe at Mania 41, if that's the key. I'm not sure what really happened with all of this. I definitely believe, though, this is what I ultimately believe at this stage, recording this February 8th. Cody was always going to win the Royal Rumble. Once The Rock got involved, The Rock was always going to be involved with this, but I do think no matter what the end game maybe was, I absolutely think they were going to go ahead with The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And by some way, how it was booked Friday, I think, was the problem. Even if the press conference was quote unquote supposed to be, if everything, look, let's take everything, let's just take a step back. If everything that happened to this point, and if it sticks, if Cody Roman is the match, and that's actually going to happen, even if there's a Roman Rock match or a Cody Rock match or a tag match, which I don't want to see either. If any of those things happen, or like a tag match in Perth with like Seth, Cody versus the Bloodline, Rock and Roman, maybe that's something for night one. I hate that idea. I don't want to see a tag match between those four. I want to see Rock in big time matches. Perth, Mania, whatever. So let's take a step back. Let's assume all of this stuff is how they all wanted it. The end game is Cody winning the title, and that's great. My issue is, or where I could poke a hole in that and say, are you sure that was the real plan? Is because Rock just walking into the ring, Cody going, oh, I don't want to wrestle you WrestleMania, Roman. Rock, you can have my shot. You don't win the Royal Rumble for the second time in a row, point at the guy who you lost to at WrestleMania to wrestle again at WrestleMania, and outwardly be like, this is my Royal Rumble win, this is who I'm selecting, to ultimately 6 days later say, nah, I don't want to wrestle, I don't want to end this at WrestleMania, Roman, and give it to Rock. Only for Cody to then say, no, I'm also lying again. I do want Roman Reigns. I think they messed up on Friday's booking on SmackDown. Let's assume this is all how they wanted it. They really just went way off the rails in booking it last Friday. I thought it was convoluted. It was a mess. It made Cody look like a jackass and Rock look like an evil, maniacal, corporate D-bag, and that was exactly what I liked from the press conference tonight, was corporate Rock, not Hollywood Rock, corporate Rock. He said, and I know The Rock has these lame catchphrases, and I say lame only because I've heard the same type of catchphrase for 30 years. I know the fans still pop, and I get it, but so he says, is this the match? Do you want this match? Do you want this match? Tell me that The Rock and Roman Reigns isn't the greatest match in the history of WrestleMania. And when they were starting to dump on that, they started hitting him with the what chance. He's like, look, if you somehow don't think that The Rock and Roman Reigns is the match for WrestleMania, the biggest match ever for WrestleMania, maybe the biggest match in WWE history, it doesn't matter what you think. We're doing what we want to do. And that came off less kayfabe, but with a twist of corporate kayfabe Rock, where they all know that these plans probably got a little shifted, and this is not how they wanted to get maybe to this particular point, but now they're here. They're going to double down on Cody being the guy. They're actually going to pull the trigger. Rock seems to be corporate Rock, heel Rock, maybe aligning with Roman, even if eventually he turns on him. That would be interesting to see. But that's where that is leading me to believe right now is Cody wrestles both nights of WrestleMania. Looks like an absolute mega babyface, even though he already is, and that's just it. Man, there's just so much to unpack. I don't want to dive too deep into it. Again, I say this every week. I try to get as much out of these pods as I can, but there's only so much we can discuss before something changes. Like last Friday, the episode last week literally was, will Cody Rhodes finally finish the story? It was posted Friday. By the end of Friday, Cody wasn't even in the main event anymore. The Royal Rumble match seemed to be worthless. And then by the time I'm recording the following one, he's back in the main event. He's changed his mind, and we're back again. So I don't know what, it's almost pointless to kind of go back and forth almost every week with like, was it this? Is it this? I think now we're kind of getting solidified with what could be happening. And I'm hopeful that they stick to this and Cody and Roman is the goal going forward. I would like to take some time to talk about the other pieces of what happened in the press conference that I felt were really intriguing. So, you know, the interesting piece of the press conference that I felt was there was cursing, there was bleeps, but they were just like silented out. But they were saying, you know, the S word, they were dropping some bombs out there. And to me, I enjoyed that because, you know, Netflix is coming soon. I'm not sure what type of limitations, if any, that they'll have outside of probably nudity. And if that's the case, you're going to see a lot more, you know, adult-ish programming where they can talk like adults at least, which is nice. You don't want to overdo it, AEW. But I definitely think it'd be a nice step forward with Raw going to Netflix. I think things are going to start flipping. Triple H definitely, he mentioned it at the beginning of the press conference. This is a new era of WWE, signifying pretty much Vince is not there. This is a new regime, a new guard. This is what we are doing. We know what's, you know, best for business. So I don't know. Just a lot of convoluted stuff. I thought Hollywood Rock could be coming out, but it's definitely corporate rock. You know. Yeah, so back to the other point, you know, Brian Ghoulish, love the guy. He loves having The Rock versus Roman. He thinks that's the match. I still think we could get that match. I think it's going to be money down the line. I think you have this story, and I know everybody's sick of that. I'm pretty sick of it overall. But Cody finishes the story. He wins the title. He can move forward with actually defending the title and like being the champion and being the face of the company, and just like finally, right? Like finally. But on the other hand, like Roman and Rock, they're not going to fight for a title anymore. They've got stuff going on, so they'll progress forward. Maybe SummerSlam, maybe next year's WrestleMania. We can get things in motion. And at that point, you know, then, you know, that seems to be what, you know, maybe that's what you'll get, Brian. I mean, maybe that's exactly what, you know, will happen. I just don't think right now the move is to have the Cody title win wait again. Not because I'm so invested in Cody that, you know, it can't happen any other way. It's just the other pieces of this don't need the title, shouldn't it be taking away progress from the title, because the title's important. The title's going to be there week to week, month to month, year to year. The Rock's been here every other 3 or 4 years. So, you know, to me, I think it's worth more to keep your stuff that you're going with every week. So we'll see. A lot of stuff, though. I mean, this whole last week was just a ton of chaos, pandemonium across the board. Man, so really enjoyed the press conference. The WWE did UFC better than UFC does UFC. I don't know how else to put that, but, you know, just the amount of intrigue. The press conference felt like a PLE. It was so bizarre. But it was great. I just felt like this is the wave. This is what they're going to start doing. This is how they're going to begin. Maybe these WrestleMania, roads to WrestleMania, they're going to have these types of press conferences. They've been doing the post shows, and they've had media there. This didn't have media there. They had media there, but they didn't ask questions. This was purely practically a PLE, a big hour-long segment. It was just a lot of talking and getting match maybe potentially set up. A lot of ifs. Don't really know what else. I'm not sure, but a lot of intrigue for sure. Very much looking forward to what happens on SmackDown tonight. I'm hoping my only issue with everything thus far, I just want Cody Rhodes to reference or make note or just tell somebody, or explain to the crowd, anybody, one time on camera so we have it, why he said he didn't want to take everything from Roman at WrestleMania on Friday to then only reverse the decision 6 days later when he has the Royal Rumble win. He could go after any title, the title that his dad had but never really had. Roman has it. Seth doesn't have it. Cody, you beat Seth 3 times. You were injured the 3rd time. He's injured right now. Take on Roman. Win the damn title. Let's move forward. So, wow. Just a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, this is just just cut a little intermission here before we get moving to a couple other notes. I'd like to, we talk a little NXT, maybe couple little things with TNA, maybe TNA news or note. Triple Threat Theater will be coming or not end of the month in March, but hopefully towards WrestleMania week. I've got a SIP series that will be releasing next week. I'm not sure if additionally I will do a regular episode or not. That'll be determined. I'll have to see how the rest of the week plays. I would assume I will record an additional podcast next week. It'll probably be less long form. It'll probably be sticking to this maybe 30-minute format so I can cover what happened in this following week, because every week a lot of stuff is going back and forth. But there is an episode of the SIP series releasing next week, and I will have more information on who that is and when that episode will be released next week. So there's a SIP series. Look forward to Triple Threat Theater coming up as we get close to WrestleMania. I'm looking for potentially some more SIP series episodes going forward. I have some things lined up, maybe some recordings. Hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll see what happens as we get close to WrestleMania. WrestleMania plans, some ideas I've been kind of figuring out. We'll get closer to the show, and I can go deeper in detail about those ideas and those plans. Let's get into some NXT real quick. Vengeance Day happened. We had the great Braun Breaker, Baron Corbin tag team win the Dusty Cup, which is pretty cool. I think Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker should be a tag team on the main roster absolutely tomorrow. But Braun will probably get a match at WrestleMania, and that's fine. They also teased a bizarre graphic. Could it be Okada? I don't know. Of course, Carmelo Hayes did turn on Trick Williams, and it seems to be that Stand and Deliver will be where that match potentially takes place WrestleMania weekend. Carmelo Hayes even wore a very similar leather jacket opened up that Shawn Michaels wore when he threw Marty Jannetty through the window. When Marty Jannetty tried to escape through the barbershop window back in 1992. So that was a cool little homage there. What else is on here? Yeah, so I just all over the weekend. I mean, I honestly don't know if I have tweeted as much about a specific wrestling situation than I have the last week with this Cody Rock Roman thing because of all the moving parts. Cody winning the Rumble, and it should be the story, and like that. Just thinking in general, like that. Okay, Cody wins the Rumble, he would probably go against Roman, right? Like, then not only does that not happen, he gives it to The Rock. So then The Rock's involved. The Rock then, it seems like is touring with the fans. The fans also just want Cody. The Rock calls out those fans, calls them Cody's crybabies, creates his own hashtag. Press conference 6 days later from SmackDown, Cody says, no, I actually want Roman at WrestleMania. All these things are happening. So I've been going back and forth over the last week with plenty of different people on social media, just I mean, this is what I love to do, though. There's really no malice or hate in any of my tweets. I really try to keep it not necessarily clean, but I really just like sending words out. I don't really, or not, not that I don't write articles anymore, but I haven't written any articles in quite a bit because this is not my main gig, and I also it takes a lot of time. To do that. There's a lot of other people that can do that. I don't need to do that. I'd rather tweet my stuff. I'd rather tweet out my thoughts and opinions as well. That's my not paper form, but in text form. In addition to this pod, but the tweets have been around since June 2008. This podcast has only been around since January of 2023. So I'm trying to further both at the same time. But I just could not believe I've just been so active on there. Which is good. I mean, it's bad because, less social media, probably a little bit happier pieces of your life. Breathe a little bit more whenever losing some sleep. But no, seriously, it's better when wrestling brings the best out of the fans. I wouldn't say the best from the fans came out from this, particularly because there was some threats and some just hatred spewed all throughout social media on either side, which I'm not a part of, but I was just trying to fight for the best booking and for logical booking, and I thought the Cody thing should be the thing to go. I want Rock Roman, but it should not come at the expense of a story we've been waiting and waiting to pull a trigger on. Just get Cody's story done. You'll never have to hear about it again, and we can move forward with some fresh matches, ideas, stories, and Rock Roman can eventually have their match the following year. Why does Rock coming in have to cancel what we've been building and building and building? Why can't we have both and just spread it out? And I think The Rock, Triple H, WWE, Brian Gewirtz, I think they've seen the error of their ways from last Friday night on SmackDown and have now come back around. Whether that's, I doubt it was them on purpose. I don't think this is the plan all along. I'm not going to subscribe to that. I'm sorry. It's just the convoluted nature of what happened on Friday compounded with the press conference. There's no way that was the plan because Vince Russo could not have written that plan. I'm sorry. He could not have written a mess like that and attempt to make sense of it. So, hell of a week on Twitter, for sure. But, so NXT was a good little Vengeance Day show. I like that they're doing those little PLEs. We had some We Want Cody signs for Raw. As we get into Raw here. Cody versus Nakamura in a bull rope match, which was fun. We finally got the first... Well, this is from SmackDown. I guess I could reiterate. But Bayley versus Io Sky at WrestleMania is official, and the graphic looks beautiful. Can't wait for more WrestleMania graphics. Back to Raw, though. We had Rocky Sucks chants. Again, half of this stuff is all just negated considering this press conference happened. It's quite stunning, to be honest with you. But DIY get the win. They go to Elimination Chamber to face the Judgment Day for those titles. So right now at Elimination Chamber, we have Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax in a singles match for the world title. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan... Becky Lynch versus either Bianca or Michin versus either Zoe Stark or Liv Morgan versus Naomi or Zelina Vega versus two other to be determined. But Becky Lynch is already in the match. Elimination Chamber for a world title match at WrestleMania. And then, like I said, either DIY or Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. That'll actually be tonight on SmackDown. I was mistaken. DIY got the win in their match in the semifinals, but they will be taking on Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in the finals on SmackDown tonight, which should be a hell of a match. SmackDown is pretty must-see these days with The Rock, Roman, Cody of it all. 2 hours is a lot better than that 3-hour slot, and we'll see what happens. We really will have to see what happens in regards to those matches. Chamber starting at 5 a.m. That's going to be brutal. I know I'll be at work on that Saturday, but I'll try to keep up the best that I can, and I'll be looking forward to having the show be over, and then looking forward to WrestleMania where I can, watch it live instead of struggling watching it live at 5 in the morning. But trying to see what else happened on Raw. Like I said, just so much happened outside the ring where it really almost didn't even matter in regards to all that. Seems like we might get Gunther and Jey Uso. I'm not sure if we'll have it at Perth or if we will get it officially at WrestleMania, but Jey Uso could be the one to potentially take Gunther's 600-day plus IC title reign, which I kind of am here for. I hadn't really thought of Jey Uso as that guy. I know he's main event Jey Uso, and he did main event matches with the Bloodline, with Roman, and against Roman, and in the Hell in a Cell, I Quit, and he's done it. He really has done it. But it's tough for me to, maybe tougher for me to see. Oh, he's gonna wrestle Gunther. I don't know, man. But I think he could be the guy, and I think Gunther is ready to go for a world title push. So I'm here for it. Cody definitely defeated Nakamura in the bull rope match, which is pretty cool to have that on Raw. But like I said, as quickly as I could have went over any of those results and how negated they were within days. So who knows? There's just a lot going on the WWE side of things right now. I can only go, over so much at a time. I'm looking forward to the Chamber predictions. We'll see who hops in for that. Same with the Revolution predictions on March 3rd. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of wrestling. I believe next week I should be traveling to RWA again. At least I'm going to try to. It's not set in stone, but Tommy Dreamer's going to be there, so I might have to pop out there and see what's happening. But I also might not be able to. So work might get in the way of that. But Chamber the following week, Revolution the following week, and then you're set. You've got 4 weeks, and then Mania is here. Things are going to have to start falling into place. I know Chamber really is that final stop before we really hash out the card. So we'll have to see where everything falls into place. Looking forward to seeing all of it. We'll quickly go over AEW stuff, and then I'll dive into some pro football, pro wrestling talk. Swerve and Hangman, as I anticipated, went to a time limit draw. Pretty well done, as I predicted the finish of a time limit, got to set up that triple threat at Revolution, and they did. Great 1, 2, and then the bell rang for the time limit draw. So I'm here for a triple threat at Revolution. I think Swerve could absolutely win the title, and Joe doesn't have to get pinned. Maybe Hangman wins it and Swerve can chase. There's a lot of different avenues. I kind of like that. Tony Storm got a win as well. Takeshita versus Chris Jericho was interesting, but Takeshita takes out Jericho with his own submission. Big news. 2 things. First of all, Sting and Darby Allin did defeat Big Bill and Ricky Starks to win the AEW World Tag Titles. And then the Young Bucks trashed the party, if you will, and beat down Sting and Darby. Left them bloody in the middle of the ring. Looks like Revolution could be a tag title match for the ages. Sting and Darby Allin defending against the Young Bucks. Which is another interesting match, because if you think that Sting is going to retire, is he going to retire as the champion? He could. Then he could vacate them. Maybe the Young Bucks are the team. Can you imagine if the Young Bucks give Sting his only loss in AEW and it's his final match ever as a wrestler? That would go over very well with the old heads that aren't fans of the Young Bucks. But I'm an old head that likes the Young Bucks, and I love Sting, so Sting should go out on top, but we'll see what happens. But thought that was a great way to end the match. Darby and Sting getting the victory. And then the big announcement, Tony Khan revealed March 13th, Boston, Massachusetts. AEW Big Business, a Dynamite show in Boston. They emphasized boss in Boston a few times because it's all but confirmed that that will be the show that hometown girl Mercedes Moné should debut in AEW officially as a member of the roster. Another one of these worst-kept secret things. It's been speculated for months now about Mercedes Moné and her contract status with anybody. And I believe Andrew Zarian, a contributor, Wrestling Observer newsletter, was the guy really hammering home, like, look, it's happening. It's signed, sealed, delivered. Moné is going to AEW. And it's all but happening. So can't wait for March 13th. That, like I said, Chamber, Revolution. And then a week and change later, 10 days later after Revolution, you're going to get Mercedes Moné in AEW. It's going to change the women's roster for sure. And I'm interested to see how she's utilized in AEW, to be honest. Little nerve-wracking, to have all that pressure to an extent. To just kind of hop in there and be a top draw. But she's done great for herself throughout her career, and I don't see why she couldn't continue that going forward. She's done great everywhere she's been. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, just wow. This whole last week, like I said, really intriguing stuff across the board. AEW, WWE, Road to WrestleMania. We are just on the road. And it started out incredibly bumpy last Friday. Turned into something. It truly turned into something. I'm still patiently waiting. I have faith. I used to say, and this was partially my argument with the Rock thing. I want Rock Roman. I want Cody to finish the story, but I don't want, one to interfere with the other. So, to me, having one interfere with the other, like, why does it have to be like that? Why can't, if one is, if Cody's story is the one you do, then that's what you do. You don't, diverge, deviate. Let's do the Rock thing. Let's push Cody's thing back. And it wasn't that once last Friday happened, it wasn't that I didn't think, they would either pivot or, hear the fans, learn from their mistakes, turn it around. Daniel Bryan, Occupy Raw, Kofi Mania, even Rey Mysterio in 06, stuff like that. I just didn't trust that WWE would pull this off. Now, maybe that's me being unfair considering it's a different regime before. Now, with Triple H's regime, I do think, hey, maybe we should not have done that booking on Friday. Let's change this. Let's change this. Let's get Cody in there. Rock, go full in, lean into being a heel. Corporate Rock. And I like Corporate Rock. I like it. So what they're doing right now, I like. Let's see what happens tonight on SmackDown. Let's see what happens in a week. Let's see what happens at Chamber. A lot can happen in 58 days. And that's when WrestleMania is. So we'll see. But as always, so we're going to touch on my last little segment here at the end here. But as always, you can follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. And let's talk turkey. Let's get into this. Let's chat. Let's banter wrestling. I'm here for it. If I'm not busy going back and forth with Brian Ghoulish or a number of individuals on the tweet machine, you can find me on there. And I will, chat with you too. We'll add you to the list. But yeah, so this is, WrestleMania season, and it's crazy. In Vegas this week, the Super Bowl happens this Sunday. The Chiefs, the 49ers, are a rematch from the 2020 Super Bowl. And it's just crazy that that's happening in Vegas. And we are getting a WrestleMania press conference in Vegas on Thursday night, whenever not only the NFL did their honors show tonight, like an hour after the presser. But, Super Bowl week and Radio Row and the media nights, and that all happened in Vegas. Everybody who's anybody in sports is in Vegas this week. So WrestleMania having this huge setup for a press conference is great to promote the brand for their Super Bowl. The Super Bowl of wrestling is WrestleMania. So WrestleMania, the Super Bowl, they go hand in hand. So I'm going to give you a little retrospective on pro football and pro wrestling. I'm not going to detail everybody. We all know there's too much for me to name. But I'm going to start rattling off some names. I'm going to start rattling off some moments and discuss a little bit of each as I can. And then we'll head right on out of here. But so specifically to start the whole damn thing, I just want to get this out of the way. A huge congratulations are in order to the one and only Steve Mongo McMichael for making it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. An incredible achievement for Steve. Of course, he's battling ALS right now. Very difficult. It's a brutal disease to have. So, props to Steve McMichael for getting the Hall of Fame. He's been fighting this thing for a while, and it's nice to see him get this acknowledgement for being in the Hall of Fame. But of course, Mongo has quite the history in pro wrestling, and that's where this all kind of, stemmed from here. Steve Mongo McMichael kind of helped out in the lead up to WrestleMania 11, in which Lawrence Taylor, a pro football player, wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event of WrestleMania. The main event of WrestleMania, a football player was in. Let that sink in for a second. And I know 95 was a down year for everybody in pro wrestling, except for WCW, who turned a profit. But, that happened. Lawrence Taylor main eventing WrestleMania. We also had the Raw Bowl, where there's wrestlers in a huge tag match wearing, jerseys. The ring canvas was green, looked like a football field, which was pretty cool. So the Raw Bowl, we had Kevin Green and Steve Mongo McMichael. So before we get to that, Steve Mongo McMichael, he does the thing with LT WrestleMania. He's there as one of the guys. He then goes and becomes the color commentator for WCW Monday Nitro. September 4th, 1995, he becomes he's a part of the first episode as a color commentator. And he was pretty damn funny. I always thought he was entertaining. He was a unique guy, brought a unique perspective, very funny, very quotable. Always brought his dog, Pepe, there. Always had a costume for the dog. I think it was a Chihuahua. But Mongo just was hilarious. Then he got in the ring. He wrestled with Kevin Green, former Pittsburgh Steeler and Carolina Panther, who recently passed away, unfortunately. And Kevin Green and Mongo took on Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, who had Bobby Heenan in their corner at Great American Bash 1996. And then in 97, Slamboree 97 to be exact, Steve Mongo McMichael took on Reggie White, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. All three of these guys now, with Mongo being in, are Hall of Famers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is so awesome. Again, congratulations to Steve. Hell of a football player, hell of a performer in the ring. I thought, he was a football player who wanted to wrestle, and he was not very gracious or not a lot of grace in the ring. He was a better commentator than he was wrestler, but I gave him props for wrestling at all. He was involved with storylines with Deborah McMichael, and the Halliburton briefcase and Jeff Jarrett, and I always found it intriguing. I always found it to be a fun interaction. Mongo being in WCW. Had a match with Goldberg, I believe, at a pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of want to see that right now. Let's see. live here. Yeah, Starrcade. I cannot believe I didn't. Well, that's because Starrcade 97 is remembered for, Sting versus Hogan. But Mongo took on Goldberg at Starrcade 97. So Mongo got the first Goldberg Starrcade match. I don't know. A lot of football ties there. So outside of those pretty direct pro wrestling references, we had, of course, how could I forget Ben Roethlisberger and the offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers being in the ring on Monday Night Raw, hanging out with D-Generation X. Very fun. Everybody had baggy clothes. It was the late 2000s. It was a bizarre time for all of us. But it was fun. That was a fun time. Really fun time. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, all pro football players, some practice squad, some not. Baron Corbin being teammates with Pat McAfee being a punter, now being... So, another part of the presser, Pat McAfee, who's now the main Raw commentator with Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, along with Big E, CM Punk, Michael Cole, were the panel of hosts discussing the presser at T-Mobile Arena, which I thought was great. CM Punk and Pat McAfee, I'm not sure if I've ever really interacted before, at least on color commentary in WWE, and I thought they had a great rapport. I think Punk was really taken aback, but soaking in how Pat did his commentary, because Pat's very emotive. He kind of screams about non-kayfabe stuff in a kayfabe way. He's like, oh, you said Rock's on the board. What's that mean? So he'll say things that oh, The Rock is on the board of directors, which is not necessarily, at least now, not yet, referenced on WWE TV as a storyline, because it's true, right? But how Pat references it is, oh, he's on the board. What does that mean? Does that mean he's going to try to get in? He turns it into kayfabe. He's just a very unique guy of commentary. I really enjoy Pat's commentary. Great with Michael Cole. But I was watching how CM Punk was reacting to Pat going on these runs. And I think he enjoys that type of chaotic energy. And I'd like to see them do a little bit more together. So we'll see. When Punk's on the shelf, I'd love to see more commentary. It's been rumored that WWE might be trying that and getting Punk to do some commentary. I think that'd be fun to do. But like I said, Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, Brock Lesnar, all either performed, pro wrestling, and either also did pro football, maybe practice squad, maybe not. Ron Simmons was a pro football player, of course. Rob Gronkowski, former 24/7 champion. How could I forget Gronk? George Kittle, noted pro football fan. He will be performing in the Super Bowl, tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. So, I know he's a huge wrestling fan. I know he's gotten some shirts from one of the prominent wrestling shirt guys in the biz. Wrestling for Sale. George Kittle has gotten shirts from him, which is pretty cool. So Kittle's a huge wrestling fan. I mean, how many times did people do the, couple claps and a Ric Flair, woo thing? Just wrestling and pro football. They're doing the Legacy Pro Football WWE titles, which one I'm sure will be given out. I'm sure they've got a Niners one and a Chiefs one at the ready to hand over to whoever wins the Super Bowl. I'm going to predict. So last year I predict 35-31 Chiefs over Eagles, and it was 38-35 Chiefs. This year, my prediction is Chiefs 30, 49ers 21. And let me tell you this right now. The Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and by hook or by crook, the WWE Kansas City Chiefs title belt is in the presence of that team as they're celebrating. If Taylor Swift gets a photograph either holding up the title, whether it's her or with Travis Kelce, WWE, you could not be any luckier. So I'm sure that's a possibility. But I think it'll be a fun game. We'll see what happens. This is obviously a wrestling podcast. But hey, I definitely took the Super Bowl into the pro wrestling realm, considering there's so many damn ties between the two. And there's a lot that I didn't get to, touch upon. But I tried to cover the main stuff. But one hell of a week in pro wrestling this week. It can only get crazier. We're on the road to WrestleMania, as I said. Elimination Chamber in a couple weeks. Revolution, Sting's final match in a couple of weeks. Mercedes Moné going to be coming into AEW in a couple of weeks after that. And then we're almost at Mania. Philly, 2 nights. Hell of a weekend. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait to talk more about it as we get closer. Like I said, Triple Threat Theater coming out before Mania. We'll be discussing Mania-themed topics, of course. Additionally, of the SIP series, there will be an episode. The second episode of the SIP series will be released next week, but I will not reveal who that is until next week. Additionally, some more SIP series are being lined up as we speak. They'll come down the pike, and I'll let everybody know who they are and when they're going to release, when they do, and when I'm ready to do so. Wow, but hell of a week. Anybody who just found the show, whether you just found the show, the Juice Box here on Spotify, you've been listening to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or hell, if you've been listening to Podbean, that's great too. It all works. I'd love to see the listenership go up. I've been seeing steadier and steadier listenership. It's gradual. It's slow. But that's exactly how this show was always going to be. There was never going to be a point where this show just took off. And I don't even think the show, has to, quote, take off. I'm doing the show for me. I'm doing the show for fans. I'm doing it for anybody who's a wrestling fan. Again, for fans, by a fan. That's what I am. I love pro wrestling. I love WWE. I love AEW. I love all forms of wrestling. I'm here to support it. If it's great, I'll say it's great. And if it sucks, I'm going to bury it. But I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give you the full, honest straw that is the Juice Box. And that's all I can really give you guys. I'm really passionate about it. So the honesty is all I can give each and every week. So as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Juicy Steen. You can follow me on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. Additionally, you can find the Juice Box Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. If you listen to it on Apple Podcasts, by the way, please drop a rating and review. 5 straws. That'd be fantastic. You could also review the show on Spotify. I'd like to shout out a listener of the show, Chris, and a little bit of a relation to Justin LeBar. I know Chris listened to the show, and I'd consider him a fan of the show. I know he gave me a rating on Spotify, and it was greatly appreciated. So appreciate the support, Chris. Hopefully you keep on listening to the Juice Box. I know there's no chair shot reality these days, so finding great wrestling content can be difficult, but I try to do the best that I can here on the Juice Box. So yeah, Spotify, Podbean, juicysteen.podbean.com, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Juicy Wrestling Closet, IG, Juicy Steen on X. Whew, a lot of stuff. We're on the road to WrestleMania, baby. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys next week for another edition of the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.